Matt, can you just make sure this is on? I realize I just hit go live and now I'm not sure if it's live. Because I've never done that part before. I mean, I clicked the little...
That?
I mean, I clicked the button.
Let's see.
But no one's watching.
It usually shows.
I hope you're enjoying this.
Where's the... Let's see. Yeah, we're live.
All right.
I think.
How can you tell? Oh, right
There
there.
we go, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Sorry for that rough beginning. Hey, everyone. I'm Mandy from Garden.
I'm Matt. How you guys doing?
And today, Matt's going to be showing me how he likes to start some of our container gardens. Although I've helped in the past, I by no means have taken on this project for our family. And there's a really cool variety of ways that Matt plants the containers. So I figured that while I'm learning how to do it, you all could learn right along with me and see some of the ways that Matt uses garden waste as well as guinea pig bedding waste to not only make our plants super healthy, but also save us some money. So let's get right into it. How should we start, Matt?
Well, in general, the goal is, we're going to start live streaming on a regular basis, and it'll give people a chance to ask questions and hopefully teach us some stuff. But, this is open. If you guys have any questions when you see stuff in the background, let us know. Besides, why is it such a mess? It's just the spring, all right? So give us a moment.
Spring cleaning's underway.
We got a lot of work to do. So yeah, let's get started. So if you watch the video on the guinea pigs, you'll get a sense, basically we use for guinea pig bedding rice hulls, biochar, cocoa, and those are actually the same ingredients I like to use as a base for making soils from scratch. I love the three ingredients. They're all waste products from other industries. They work really well. They balance each other out. The missing component is around fertilizer and compost. Something So I would always add in worm castings and compost to that mix, and then use it as a soil base. But then all of a sudden I realized we were using these in the guinea pigs, and I was like, let me see what happens if I just use straight guinea pig bedding waste, and it worked phenomenally well. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it, and there's a bunch of different ways, so I'll give you guys a few methods that we're doing. And yeah, maybe we switch to the camera. That's easier to move around. Let's see.
Look at us go.
Yep. All right. So let's pull this guy over. So let's start.
Just to summarize that. Okay, so the cocoa, the rice hulls, and the biochar, those are all inert. They're not going to provide any of the nutrients that the plant needs to grow. But when the animals go to the bathroom in them and add, manure or any, droppings, those are the nutrients that eventually will become food for the plants, correct?
Yeah,
all
so
right,
check
cool.
this out. Let's go look at some of this. I have a fresh bag. So I tried this, by the way. I was trying to make a video of doing this the other day, and if anyone has any advice, I came out to this. These were sugar snap peas and greens. Everything went wrong. The video camera didn't record it for most of it, but my chickens, I'm pretty sure, just absolutely ravaged this. So, at the end of today, we're gonna have to figure out how to protect that from happening again, because that was a little defeating. So let's grab. Let me show you guys what the guinea pig litter would look like before messing. Get that right here. All right. So let's pull out. And so I love this stuff because, you'll see some of the straw they haven't gotten around to eating. You think about, you put alfalfa meal in, it's a great general purpose fertilizer, and this is Timothy hay, very similar, a lot of nitrogen, and everything you can need to grow in a plant is going to be in a plant. So, when you start thinking about what should I add, well, what are you growing? If you're growing something that's got fruit and flower, you're going to want to add something that, if you're doing all organic or plant matter, with more fruit and flower in it. So like bananas and old banana peels and stuff like that. But check this out. So
wait, I've never heard of that. So if you want to grow something that you want fruit and flower, then you want to put in ingredients that have fruits and flowers?
Well, so think about it, right? Like from a logical standpoint, I've seen people literally put groceries in, which breaks my heart to watch. That seems really counterproductive, to take food that people could eat and then put it in your plants, feed it to your plants. The waste byproducts, right? You think about like, if passion fruit, like we grow a lot of passion fruit, like the old skins, after we've eaten it, right? It's got a lot of the phosphorus and potassium in it that it needed, right? So whatever a plant needs to grow, another plant's already going to have in it that's successfly reached that size.
That's such a
we're
smart
not
way to
even
think
in the
about
camera.
it.
So let's take a peek. Let's just get this camera. How do we get a good shot?
Yeah, you want to hold it? No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got it.
So let's see, how does that look? So you can see here, there's gonna be all sorts of stuff. Let's pick through it. There's biochar,
These little black chunks here.
black chunks. There's the Timothy hay sitting in there, the guinea pig poop. And these are like little time release fertilizers. So as they get wet, they start breaking down. And great pet because their poops are super clean.
Rice hulls are the tiny little brown, these little
Yellowy.
pieces here.
Yeah, here's,
And
you
then
can see it all
cocoa.
over the yard too.
Yes, yeah, we have it everywhere. And then cocoa is in here, is mixed in here as well. It's a really broken up over time, so it's hard to see a chunk of it, but there's cocoa in there as well.
Yeah, so let's see. We can even go switch it if we want to do. How should we do the cameras right now?
Want to just go back to the computer, or what do you want to do next?
Well, let's start planting maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't I be in charge of it?
All right, cool.
I'll follow you
Any
around.
comments? Oh. Hey, bud. Oh, someone saying, hey, "What's up, bud? How you doing?" Oh, what's up, Mike? That's our guy. What's going on, man? Long time. How have you been?
You can tell you're learning. You're going through the growing pains with us. Thank you.
Welcome to our yard. It's a mess. Sick. So I'm going to show you guys. I actually already started this guy over here and then decided, I should be sharing this stuff. People ask me about it. Is this the one? Nope, wrong one, sorry. Check this one out over here. Oh yeah, so it's already starting to break down. So about a week ago I started this, and we have this bin, in our kitchen. And this is what I mean about like adding back, whatever you're taking out. So there's apple skins. So I just literally buried in the middle of this a bunch of compost. Love eggshells, high in such a great source. Here's a banana, an old banana. Boom. I'm surprised I put one that full. I might have just kind of squeezed that.
That might have been me.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see that it's already starting to break down. Now the thing is, right, and I'm going to actually put a little bit more of a general granular fertilizer. There's a million on the market, so in my opinion, whatever you can get for the cheapest, like right now we have some that are expired and we're selling them cheap, and I recommend people get those because it's kind of like your stomach, the saying where it's like it all winds up in the same place. You got to make sure the individual ingredients are in there. So let me grab that granular. Where'd it go? Oh yeah. Never mind, I mixed it in over here. All right, so this, I kind of mix in, and it's stinking and starting to get hot. I mix it in with a little bit of compost from out back, which I can show you.
So is this stuff from the compost bag you just showed us?
Yeah, no. So this is a granular fertilizer mixed with compost and rice hulls.
Okay. So this is like a store-bought fertilizer.
Yep.
For veg or for vegetative states of plants or bloom?
This is a little more bloom oriented because a lot of the stuff, I found the stuff around your yard, the hardest components to get often from your yard are going to be the stuff for like heavy blooming plants like phosphorus and potassium particularly. And calcium and magnesium, that's like such a cheap thing. You can get lime, which is, we sell 50-pound bags for $22. Some of the phosphorus and potassium, be a little harder. Things around your yard like ash have tons of potassium in them. Phosphorus can be a little trickier. You can get like little bits and pieces here and there, like eggshells are great. The truth is though, people tend to overdo phosphorus, and the more phosphorus you put, it actually kind of starts to slow down mycorrhizal health. And so it's like you can add more and then the microbes stop working, So you don't need a ton. You need like 50 parts per million typically. Before I add in any more soil, I'm actually going to go scoop up some really well broken down compost out back if you guys want to join me. Any comments or anything? Yeah. All right, let's hit the camera. So this yard, it's we've spent. It was kind of all grass and all dirt and plastic. There wasn't a lot of soil, so you might notice there's it's a little scruffy looking, which is how I love it. Just little. This is what nature seems to thrive in, not the old ripped up bags of rice hulls that mice went through that we store back here and slowly break down. But yeah, so I had a compost pile here a while ago, 2 years ago, and I haven't added anything in the last year or so. So it's really, really broken down, which is awesome in a lot of ways. I mean, it's actually probably starting to, lose some of its nutrients. Yeah, you can see roots are growing into it and whatnot, but that's all right, because what I'm using this stuff for more than anything is an environment for microbes to thrive. So by adding in that fresh fertilizer, the stuff's going to come back to life. All the microbes are in there.
Just so I'm understanding, so tell me what all of the components of the end bag container is going to have in it.
Totally.
So it's going to have, so this layer is what would you call this layer?
So the bottom half is going to be the guinea pig waste, and I can show you also, we'll make a bag using leaf litter and grass clippings, which works amazingly well. And if you can add biochar in, which I'll at some point make some for you guys and show you how I do it. Mix those three things together as an alternative. Then after that, I'm going to put a thin layer of compost down, and on top of that fertilizer happens to be mixed. I'm sorry, I don't have any unmixed granular fertilizer. I forgot to bring some home. And then on top of it, I'll put another. So I make basically a sandwich: compost, fertilizer, compost. Just breaks all that fertilizer down, so it's sitting there about halfway down as a pocket. It'll actually get really hot, and I'm going to plant on top of that. Now normally you'd hear that's a bad call, and it would be if your roots were growing into it. Like, you would never want to plant into that, but I'm going to put more soil on top of that. So by the time the roots actually reach down there, it'll be pretty well metabolized, it won't be cooking anymore. And during the process of cooking, it's spring, it's cold, it was snowing yesterday a little bit. So we need heat. Germination occurs much quicker when it's warm. So by doing this, is actually like a free heat system for my containers. So
and so why aren't you worried about the compost being too hot? Say that again, the top layer.
So I wouldn't plant directly in here. So this is about halfway down.
Oh, okay.
And so it's basically the things you have to worry about. The reason why cooking soil is bad is the microbes. There's really big shifts in nutrient availability. Microbes will gobble up nitrogen, so you'll see deficiencies sometimes. They're producing all sorts of chemicals in the process that can be toxic, and slowly they break down and dilute. There's a lack of oxygen because the microbes are using all that oxygen, and the temperature's getting really hot to the point where if it's over 100 degrees, not too many plants are going to do well with the roots being like that. So,
got it.
But it's so far down in the bag, we're going to create at least a half a foot layer between that and the plants.
Okay, so I thought you said, I thought you said compost, fertilizer, compost, but the top isn't compost.
I'm sorry, that's going to be right in the middle. So
okay.
The compost, fertilizer, compost layer is going to be right in the middle.
Okay, got it.
Then above that, we're going to put some good soil. And basically,
yes.
So all this is going to be sitting about the bottom 2/3, and the top is going to be a layer of good soil. Personally, I love using spent soils. As for seedlings, I think seeds do really well, assuming you didn't have any root diseases like root aphids or anything like that. And then at the top, I do a rice hull mulch layer just to kind of block in the moisture, block out the sun.
All right, so from bottom up, it goes compost, fertilizer, compost, spent soil, rice hulls.
So the very bottom is like my homemade version of your pro mix kind of thing, which at the end of the day, it's things like cocoa peat.
Oh, just like a good
right?
aeration
so I just want to get
and
a lot of carbon in it without a lot of nutrients. This one will have some nutrients in, and then I put this hot fertilizer compost layer in that while it's cooking, it's going to be dripping in and breaking down that other section. And I tested it out by mixing it all, and then also instead layering, and the layering worked better and saved my back from having to mix it. I was like, wow, I can't believe that worked so well, because that saves me a lot of time and headache. And my hunch is too, you think about if you mix fertilizer all the way through, right? If it's at the bottom, it's going to just be leaking out constantly, right? Every time it rains. Whereas now it's up high, so it's slowly dripping down, and hopefully the roots can snag it before it gets out of there. But then above that, if there's a place you're going to spend, money on fresh soil, it's just that top half. So everyone's on a tight budget right now, so I figure if I can help people, get half their soil for free, that could be helpful to people. I know it's helpful to me, so yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Where is I thought it was spent soil, but are you saying that it's not spent, that it's purchased soil is the top
You can use
half?
spent soil.
Oh,
If you don't have spent soil, you can definitely purchase soil. But
I
if you're on a
understand.
really tight budget, you know,
Yeah.
spent soil for greens with this above. You know, if you use a spent soil and you're doing a thick layer, maybe mix in some compost into it, something that's cooked, because you don't want anything that's still cooking.
Okay, yeah.
Just to freshen it up.
Got it. All right, but if you've got spent
Yeah.
soil, use that, and if not, you can add some potting soil.
Yeah, and if you have spent
Perfect.
soil, you know, you can mix in something like, you know, I might take a spent soil and, you know, where I plant the seeds in, sometimes I'll just do straight spent soil. But if you're doing like an entire container, you're just trying to refresh your bag, I would mix like probably rice hulls and compost in together to do that. So that way you get one thing for aeration and one thing for fertilizer. 'Cause
Nice.
those are the things you lose with soil, potting soils.
Okay.
They get compressed and they lose their nutrient charge.
Amazing.
And so by adding those, and the other reason why I use rice hulls around perlite, rice hulls break down, so you can just continue that process indefinitely. You know, you can reuse that soil without like having like this accumulation of useless perlite. And I hate telling people to mix with perlite. It's so dusty and gross to use. So, let's see, what else is good? Some more here.
I can't see what the camera's seeing, so I'm really hoping, everyone, that I have Matt in frame.
All right. Yeah, that's one tricky thing. All right, let's go back. This should be good. That. So, let's see. So this is the one where I put the compost in. So let's work on this guy. So I am gonna, this one will be a super hot one. Because I'm gonna do this. So there's a lot of fertilizer down below this. Okay. Chickens are probably gonna scope this out of the out.
She just started
I heard
talking.
one.
I don't know if you guys can hear the chicken in
Scared.
the background. We got a.
I got some comments.
We got a good yellow dog.
Here, you can set
Helping
this
us
up if you
out.
want to.
There's a chicken that's looking to see. Oops, I was just going to show them the chicken. I don't know if you guys can see it. Looking to see what we're up to. Oh, here they come. Here come the girls.
All right.
Wow, look how dark that is on top of the yellow. You can like really see.
Yeah, so
What
if you planted
quality
straight
it
in this and filled the whole bag, it would probably be a little too thick and
Too
rich.
much, yeah.
So I'm actually going to try something today. I'm going to actually mix this in a little bit with to make a soil rather than using you know, old spent soil, because I actually don't think we have any sitting around. I'm going to try an alternative to that, which will be mixing about 50-50 with the compost and leaf mulch. All right, so now I'm going to take some of this fertilizer, which this time, you know, this is going to be mixed together a little, you know, so I wish you guys could smell it. It stinks. It's kind of warm now, so it's starting to cook a little. I did this a few days ago.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing. It means there's fertilizer. It's a thing. So I'm going to spread this guy in and just put a layer in here. Normally I'd probably put one shovel. I'll do two, since this is about, you know, half non.
Penguin's coming to check us out.
They're eyeballing this. I know what
She
you're trying
just
to
came
do.
right over. She's like, what are you guys up to?
I'm going to rip that apart later. That's what she's saying.
Hey, Penguin. You want to come
Right.
see? Hey, pretty girl. Oh, we got our good old farm dogs. A couple other chickens.
I know it was you. Love you, Penguin, but I know it was you.
Matt had these set up 2 days ago, and we came out and they were completely opened up, and Penguin's going to show you how she did that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let me grab this. Do you want? We should respond. Let me see.
Yeah.
Kind of comments, you know. Great question. So, Mike, what's going on, bud?
Any worms in those
switch
bins?
to. So, are there any worms in these bins? There are. There should be, but there aren't. I wish there were. There actually probably are some. There aren't a ton, but if I had had my worm castings, I would have loved it if there were some good worms, and there's just a ton of activity at the bottom. Some people worry about what that'll do to the plants, but composting worms aren't going to go after your roots very often. You know, you need a lot of them just overflowing. So there's some worms in here, but definitely the more the merrier for worms. Love seeing worms. They'll go to where things need to be broken down, not to healthy roots, especially red wigglers. All right.
I was trying to see if there was some in the soil you just dug up that'll get in there. Here, tick, 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 tick.
All right, so
Hi, ladies. Hi, girls.
Sunny really likes the chickens.
Hi, ladies.
All right, so let's see. So now I got some fertilizer down, and you know I'm gonna add a little bit of that. All right, and this is some chicken manure, so why not throw a little of that in?
Oh, nice. This is chicken manure?
I thought
Oh, great.
it's kind of dilute, but I'm gonna put a little of this in. Variety, spice of life. Boom. So this is a chicken and guinea pig manure mix. Very fancy.
Yeah. And so now, same thing. You don't have to worry about the manure being too hot because you're going to add either a potting soil or a spent soil on top of all of that, which will give the seedlings time to take.
Exactly, yeah. And I
before
will
their
say
roots get to the hot zones.
these guys are a little higher up than I should have them. This one is in particular, you know, this is going to only create like a few inches of a lip. But on the flip side, because I mixed in rice hulls to this fertilizer, that's why I'm allowing for that, so it's a thicker layer. So this wasn't straight granular fertilizer. If this had been straight granular fertilizer, I wouldn't have gotten it so
You
high
would have
up.
more
I would have
potting
allowed
soil.
probably 3 more inches deep before I added this in. Still, let's try this. Let's see how this goes. I am gonna put some compost down now on top of this. Some leaf litter, love that. Spice of life, variety.
And you were saying earlier, like that you don't usually put like a whole banana in. You like to chop up your inputs just so they break down faster.
Yeah. Well, there's a fine line, you know, so because if you do it so tight, there won't be any aeration for it to break down. It'll get kind of nasty and anaerobic. But if you do it so loose, it won't break down either.
Oh,
So
I see. So if it's really fine, it'll just compact on top of each other.
yeah, the finer it is, you know, if you're doing like
Yeah.
leaf litter and grass clippings, if it's really fine, it'll break down probably quicker. You know, you're increasing surface area. Yeah. And by the way, so guys, anyone out there watching, any suggestions or comments on what we're doing? We decided, you know, we've thought about a million things we could do. We just wanted to start getting, you know, information out there and a platform for people to ask questions and push us to be smarter and help out. So let us know what you would like to see. All right, so I'm actually gonna run back and grab a little bit more soil. We don't have quite enough. Right back.
Should we come with you?
Oh yeah.
Should we take a chicken break? No, we'll come follow you. This is the nicest chicken of the group, Penguin. They're friendly. This is the dog that protects them from predators. Back to the compost pile. What a day, huh?
Beautiful.
Feels like heaven
It's
out
not
here.
been like this. So this compost, you know, initially, the first few years I had it, it was, I was putting food scraps and stuff. And then I moved our food scrap pile elsewhere and started putting like lawn clippings and leaf matter. So, you know, it's
Wow,
gonna probably
look
be a
at how
little
rich
bit
it is.
heavier on, you know, it's not gonna be a super strong compost.
Right, as far as like nutrient rich.
Yeah, and even, you know, things with grass clippings, nitrogen can be kind of fleeting, so it kind of disappears quicker than most other nutrients. So my hunch is, like, so if you start off with a compost with tons of leaf clippings, for instance, I mean, with grass in it, it might be very high in nitrogen initially, but it'll sort of die down over time. All right. So I like this. This has some sand mixed in, which is nice. Very natural. Now the reason you don't want to use straight topsoil or something like this in a container is it'll compress and compact, go anaerobic. So for us, but this is a different story, right? Like there's so much aeration down below that's going to break down. So that, you know, and it's a fabric pot, which is great. So next step, I'm going to mix some of this in on top. I do not want a piece of plastic in there.
This little piece of trash.
And then, oh, yeah, look at that root matter. I think dead roots, great way to build new roots.
Tell us a little bit more about why you believe that.
Well, you know, if you're using there's a risk with disease. You know, you have to worry. A lot of people don't do that because disease transmission. I think outside, there's so much more going on that you're not going to worry about that. And also, for this situation, though, these roots, they're from trees, so the diseases aren't going to be shared. That being said, nor will the mycorrhizae, so different symbiotes will exist. I'm sure there's some annuals mixed within this, but nonetheless, you know, again, back to if you want to make roots, you know, roots have everything you need to make roots. So that's kind of my theory on that, and so far it's worked.
So if you had an old container of tomatoes that, you know, there's just the root balls in there, you would use those tomato root balls in your next year's plantings.
Particularly for seedlings, I love, my favorite seed starting soil is an old root ball. Is old soil from a root ball.
Makes sense. Lots of air, lots of...
Yeah, you know, it's harder to do at scale probably, so
Right.
I don't want to plant in straight compost, so I'm going to take this and just, and this is a bit of an experiment, so everyone,
And
you know,
remind us what
please
this...
let me know what you think. Will this work? Will this not work?
Remind us what this is that you're adding.
Oh, this
in.
is the guinea pig mix.
Okay.
Okay, so this is gonna, you know, kind of dilute it a little bit. You know, this is the filler material. It's high in carbon. There is some little fertilizer pellets called guinea pig poop everywhere, but the biochar, rice hulls, and cocoa, those do not add anything. Now, here I am going to take some of this big chunky stuff because I'm going to put the seeds down next, and I don't want them. You know, I want it to be nice and smooth, just so that way we can get an even depth on them. All right. Okay. And so I did this similar recipe this last year. I did 4 containers, and I love these 30-gallon bags, by the way. For me, they're the bigger the better, but there's a certain size where you can't move it anymore, and it's totally immobile. 30s are nice. You can move them, 1 person, 2 people, depending on how wet it is and how strong you are. When you start getting really big, I mean, you can definitely use like 100-gallon for, you know, but you're probably not going to be moving that very much. You know, in New England, especially in the fall, depending on what you're growing, you might want to bring it in at the end of the season to finish up. So this allows for that, allows you to move it, rotate it.
And the reason you say bigger the better is because there's more available nutrients for the plant, more food in the bag just by sheer volume, and it stays moist, so less watering needed. Is that why?
Totally, yep. And it stays more stable, right? It's just going to be so much more stable from a temperature perspective as well.
Okay.
You have a tiny little container. In the heat of summer, it's going to cook and dry real
Oh,
quick.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is going to stay nice and cool in the middle. It's kind of like I think I probably learned it from if you study wildlife populations as if there's a species like raccoons, the further north they are, the bigger they get, and the theory is that the greater mass allows better thermal storage, so they can survive cold winters. So we're in New England, so we get some wild temperature fluctuations. So cool. All right, so that looks pretty good. And now I know they're going to destroy this. We need to figure this out. I'm gonna do something to make sure. 'Cause the second I leave, they're gonna just.
Well, you're talking about the chicken.
apart.
Yeah, they're literally like just waiting for you to turn
Just eyeballing it.
your back.
Yeah. Okay. And so I'm gonna mix in. I'm gonna make a prep so after this. After I put seeds down, I'm gonna mix a little more of this stuff in. This mulch kind of guinea pig mix. And again, when I say guinea pig mix, you could say rice hulls, cocoa, biochar, compost.
Yes, we happen to fertilize with guinea pig poop because we have 8 guinea pigs, but the inert ingredients of rice hulls, cocoa, biochar is the key, and then you can fertilize with whatever you have for a nutrient, whether it be a store-bought or your own small animal bedding.
And I guess, yeah, hey Mandy, come out. Yeah, you can join me in this part. Yeah, come on in.
I'd love to
Mandy's,
come on
Mandy's
in.
smart one.
No.
She's a way better gardener than she ever realizes. So
I'm the best chicken hugger. That's what I'm really
she's
good
better.
at.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times she's called me. Like she's been like, "Hey, that plant doesn't look right," but just because I think I'm a good grower, anyways,
Oh, thank
she's
you.
really good. She knows what she's doing. So, anyways, mixing this up, I love the way this looks. This is gonna be a really light fertilizer here. And the question again is, do we have?
Yeah, it looks so.
Do we make Do we make the soil out of guinea pig bedding because we have 8 guinea pigs, or do we have 8 guinea pigs because they make such great soil? It depends on who you're asking the family.
So this in this bin right here is just the dirt that you took out of the compost pile plus the guinea pig bedding, biochar, cocoa, rice hulls, guinea pig poop.
Precisely.
Okay.
So.
And you're not. So are you going to do another layer on top of this, or is this the top layer?
This is the layer we're going to put the seeds on top of.
Okay.
So let's smooth this. Yeah.
Does the fact that there's guinea pig poop in here, which is a nitrogen source, does that make you at all nervous for the seedlings to be mixed within that, or because it's
so
not
scattered?
I'm
not worried. And guinea pigs, because if it was like a manure that was like, to be honest, if it was chicken manure is a lot hotter.
Too
you
hot,
think about what they eat. They're
and
like
when you
tiny
say hot,
little.
lots of nitrogen.
Lots of fertilizer in general.
Oh, okay.
Depends on the pigs. I think pig manure is higher in phosphorus.
Oh, okay.
Chicken's
Just
nitrogen.
higher NPK is hotter.
And energy too in it. Just what they're eating. Basically, guinea pigs are little cows. They graze, so they're processing grass, and hay and straw, which can be used as a fertilizer in itself.
Right.
And so then they break it down a bit, so it's just not very hot. It doesn't smell for that reason. It's just basically like dirt. So it's very light and gentle.
Okay.
So now I'm gonna smooth it. We gotta
All right,
pick
hold
out.
on, I gotta do it so they can see.
Cool. Let me get the seeds.
All right, we'll take a dog break while we're waiting for Matt to get the seeds.
All right, here's some seeds.
And then the
They're just
chickens
not peas.
just waiting to get into these
Yeah.
spags
Yeah.
and to scratch around in there.
Let's get these guys away. All right, so man, you want to spread the seeds?
I would love to.
All right, now we're gonna overseed. You know, normally if you were, a farmer.
Do you know what I tell our customers that come in?
What?
I tell them that you encourage me to seed Johnny Appleseed style.
Yes.
Which is, I'll wait till you've got it so I can, you ready? Which is, you ignore the instructions on the back that say how many seeds per inch, which this one is, these are sugar snap peas, and they're supposed to be 2 to 3 inches apart, but the Matt Reisman Garden School of Seeding is the Johnny Appleseed style. Oh, do you want me to do this bag?
Whichever one, yeah, here, sorry.
Where you just do a nice little mix. I drop one out of the bag there. You kind of just go around. I'll get the one that fell. And you drop them in. You make sure you don't have any really heavy pockets. And you give yourself a big pat on the back because you feel like you did a great job. And then you cover them up. Do you want me to cover them with a little bit of this, Matt, or?
No, yeah, well, from that bin right there. So those guys want an inch, yeah. So add an inch of that.
Okay. So I like to just kind of do.
Well, that no longer works.
Whoops.
Sorry, one sec.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
I just broke
I like
stuff.
to kind of just do like a light, a light sprinkle. Just keep in mind, like your seeds, they need to be covered so that they can stay moist to help trigger germination and then also keep them alive while they're growing. But in addition, they need to be able to easily poke through with their new little shoots, their little baby shoots they're gonna pop out. So you don't want to do too much. It's that old art and science, right? You gotta keep them a little bit covered and moist so that they come out, but you also don't want to do too much because it'll be too hard for them to poke through, and you might not get the yield that you're expecting from the amount of seeds that you put down. Part of the reason that Matt has convinced me to do the Johnny Appleseed method is one, oftentimes, when you're just kind of gardening for fun at your house, you're not really too worried if something gets overcrowded. But two, you can kind of see what takes, and if something is being overcrowded, you can just pull it out and eat it as a microgreen or transplant it if you want. You can kind of just roll with it. So that's kind of how we go.
Yeah, so I've also found, in general, if you do a real thin planting, especially in containers, that's great. You have to risk root rot, and there's so much moisture in water, and ultimately it's not moving. There's no movement in the water.
Yeah.
You want me holding this for a second?
No, not
just
at all.
Want to grab another seed. Just go somewhere. So by doing overseeding, initially, you can always thin out. The only downside is it's going to cost you money, right? You're going to spend money on show this right here, and you're going to spend a lot of money on seeds, maybe. But the way I do it, especially for greens, I'm going to show you guys, is basically the reason I do it this way is that way you can continuously thin and harvest starting at week 2 usually. You get a microgreens crop, and then you just thin constantly, and you'll just always be able to harvest. So it's not for nothing.
So I just want to make sure people know what you're about to do, which is super cool. So I put a a sugar snap pea layer down.
Oh, nope, that's, I think what do you think I'm in?
Is this going in here?
No, it's not. No.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to show you guys something. Sorry, so these are like green seeds, lettuce seeds right over here, and that's a pea seed.
Okay.
So the pea seed, I love peas. They're just these big seeds that just can push through things. They have so much, you think about that seed, it's just packed with like everything it needs to continue growing.
Come in here so people can see you. Yeah, there you are. There you go. Yeah, no, you're doing great.
So to continue growing, so you want to add an inch of soil typically. Unfortunately, Sunny no longer scares the chickens because that would help with the containers not being ripped apart. But for lettuce, you're going to want a 1/4 inch most. You want a real thin layer because there's such little dainty seeds; they're not going to be able to push through an inch of soil necessarily. So, so the bigger the seed, typically, the thicker the layer. Again, for greens, I'm going to do a nice hearty layer, really overseed this because I can't wait in 2 weeks from now. I'm hoping, assuming the chickens don't destroy it, I'll have a nice layer to harvest microgreens. Mm-hmm. The other reason why I love doing it that way, even if I weren't going to eat them, I love overseeding when possible, because I'll do it with peppers or any seeds that are cheap particularly, because when especially these annuals, right, like they've evolved to kind of compete in a landscape and then utilize, the plants that they're beating out competitively. So if you're thinning out, all that dead root matter now is like been processed, and other plants surrounding it, once you chop it, will be, you know, feeding. So, all right. So now we got that, a nice, very thin layer. I'm gonna do the same thing here. You know, just spread something thin over here, nothing too crazy. Okay. Then you don't want it to be so thin that it dries out. Although, you know, I got another trick that I'm gonna show you next, and we probably want to add a little more for these peas. I still see, you know, I don't think they're probably only a ½ inch deep, so you know, a little bit more.
I like it.
All right, and chickens, shoo. No, 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 come on, come on. No, no, don't go near there. You can see they're very afraid of us.
They all grew up inside the house, so they very much think they're pets.
Please don't. Please, I work very hard. All right. So the last step I'm gonna add is rice hull, and I love this stuff as a mulch. It is amazing. It's you know what they remove from rice when they're making rice. You know, it's the outer shell. That's
Let me flop this back to like the so that this is the main screen.
Sure, sure.
I think we're both out here. Hold on just a second.
No.
No.
No penguin. Oh, sorry. I know I was saying
No,
penguin.
no.
Here.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It's
Sorry, everybody. Oh, yeah. Good. Perfect.
all right. All right. So yeah, got a bunch of rice hulls in this.
So for those who don't know, rice hulls are a byproduct of the rice industry. They're the hull of the rice. So they're really awesome because they're relatively inexpensive. That 50-pound bag, well, it was a 50-pound bag. We've been using it for a bit now. You know, I think it's like $37, and it expands to 7 cubic feet. So you know, they're cheap, they're good for the environment, and they're hydrophobic, which means they don't want to absorb water. So they'll dry out quickly, reflect sunlight, but also trap moisture in the lower below them, which is really cool.
They're awesome. They allow air in, prevent moisture from leaving, prevent you know a number of bugs that have you know like fungus gnats that have life cycles involve being in the soil and out of the soil.
Oh, great point.
So they
yeah,
kind of break that life cycle from occurring.
They add some porosity.
It's great if you have a lawn too. We you know in the spring, kids, dogs, chickens, you know mud gets tracked everywhere. And on top of it, you know, it's really hard to get grass going a lot of times. So this stuff, it's amazing. I'll cover seed up or just brown patches. Grass seed can pop right through it, and it's great. So I'm going to put a thin layer over the, this is the lettuce mix. I'll just do a thinner layer on these guys, and they'll be able to break through this without a problem. And then next, let's do this guy. I'll do a little thicker. This is the peas.
The peas can handle it.
Any suggestions on keeping chickens? Any suggestions on keeping chickens? I think the camera, yeah.
Yes.
I'm learning to talk to cameras. Any suggestions on keeping the chickens out of here are great. You know, I got a couple ideas. Maybe put some bamboo stakes or mesh fencing around it. So it's nice to not have to do that stuff, but other animals can get in there too. They usually don't. It's usually just the chickens, but hey. All right, so that is it.
Are you, right on time. Are you gonna water it on that?
Yes, I will. I'm gonna lightly water.
You just kind of like mist, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't go, overly come back.
That was actually great question. Yep, I will do that next. Let's fire this bad boy up.
Ooh, nice mister.
Yeah. I'm using a faucet nozzle. I like these guys. So you don't want to... The other thing that's nice about the rice hulls is if this was straight on the dirt with the seeds, I'd be really hammering it, compressing the soil.
Right.
Pushing some seeds underground, and some would be surfacing, whereas this is just kind of evenly dispersing the water.
And so you can get pretty wet because it's a huge pot. So you don't have to worry about the seeds sitting in a puddle.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and think about below. The cool part is right where the seeds are, that stuff's going to hold so much moisture. And it was like that all the way through. It would turn into mud. But because below is such like a heavy drainage and fertilizer layer, it's going to leak through, ignite the fertilizer, and then just wash into those really heavily aerated, carbon-dense areas below.
Well, Matt, I learned a lot.
Oh,
And you planted my two favorite things, which are greens and sugar snap peas.
And stay tuned because we will tell you next how we hopefully keep the chickens out of here. Again, any suggestions, please let me know. All right, that's all.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Happy spring.
Happy spring. Happy planting.
Matt, how do I shut this off? Matt,
What's that?
how do I shut this off?
Uh,
Finish?
yeah.
And